Nelson Peltz is not a stupid guy.
No.
Nelson Peltz, even though he does not have the capital of a Warren Buffett, he is in that same 0.0001% of American wealth. Nelson Peltz is a very, very rich man, and he didn't get to be 82 years old and worth the billions that he is by being a moron. Warren Buffett is an activist investor. Nelson Peltz is an activist investor.
He doesn't like that term, though.
I know that's what I was about to say, but you're right, Andrew. He does not. And the reason he does not, Andrew, as I explained earlier on Toxic Femmes, I stopped by Midnight's Edge before I got here, was that the term activist investor, because I get questions on this all the time, is very confusing because, of course, today people think the word activist is a partisan term, a political partisan term. It is not. Not in the financial world. It is not. The difference between, I want everybody going forward tonight, is if I use the term activist investor or anybody else, please put this in your zeitgeist, bury this in your brain. When it comes to the investing standpoint, you need to realize that there's a difference between a passive investor and an activist investor. A passive investor is like the 99.9999999% of us out there. It's people like me. It's people like Andrew, people like Lorena, Pro, Jonas, everybody out there watching in the audience. A lot of us here have stock in Disney, whether we realize it or not. Some of us own stock directly in Disney, like Lorena does. Some of us own stock in Disney through a mutual fund that we have in our 401k or IRA. You're a passive investor. You're probably not engaging in Disney board meetings and forcing them for management changes. That's the difference. If you're at the scale of a Nelson Peltz, and last year, Nelson Peltz, look at the noise that Nelson Peltz made with $1 billion of Disney stock a year ago, when that was like less than 1%. Now, this sumbitch has $2.5 to $3 billion worth of Disney stock. He is 2.5 to 3 times more powerful than he was a year ago. He can make noise, and he's chosen not to be passive. He wants to be actively involved in the management direction of Disney. He wants to be involved in the direction of the company. He doesn't want to sit on the sidelines and just wait for Bob Iger and his clan to do whatever the hell they want. No, he's like, I want board seats. I'm coming in. I want internal documents, and I'm going to force my change upon you. That is an activist investor. It's not political. It's about affecting change at management. You want Nelson Peltz, and I'll make this clear for the audience at large real quick. The reason that Bob Iger hates Nelson Peltz and the reason that the Disney goons hate Nelson Peltz is because Nelson Peltz, like Ike Perlmutter, who Disney also ran out the door, what were they doing that Disney really didn't like? They were throwing fundraisers for Donald Trump. Your floor.
No, that's the big. That's the real one. That's what they won't say. They'll never say that. They'll never say that. But of course, the real intent here is to make money. And the sad thing is that like when you look at these stocks, when you look at the stocks that he's got involved in the past, it's, hey, when they're down, when this is something that you can see an easy regression, an easy doubling or tripling, even in Disney's case, it is possible, right? That is the time when they come in. And it's such an easy case when they're not making money. It's like, let's just make money again. Let's just go back to the point, not so long ago where we were double the price. We were making money. We're clipping along. It's zippity doo dah. It's not, Tiana's Slavery Island. We're back to this. We're back to the hum of making this a productive American company. And there's such an easy case for Disney. In fact, that's why all of us, this content is so easy because many people feel this way. It's something that is a general sentiment shared by many people that are not just investors, but people that are engaging with the company. And Nelson Peltz has said, hey, look, Disney is a consumer company. And at this point, they have lost the consumer.
Yeah, I don't see it as a coincidence that Rasmussen poll comes out a few days before. Mm-hmm. And Rasmussen, they called their shot there on Twitter. They said, hey, we'll give you the hard data, but after we want to give Disney the right of first refusal on that. I think there's also a lot of Wall Street folks that are looking at the $120 stock price that they got to under Nelson Peltz right before the last Proxy fight ended. And I think there's a lot of short-term people there that are thinking, okay, well, if he could take it from 89 to 120, then maybe he's going to do that here again. And maybe they'll cash out at the exact same time. Again, I don't know. These might be people who have no faith in the company past Nelson Peltz jostling things around here. But I really want to see what Nelson Peltz would actually do with this company. He almost got a board seat. If you follow those SEC filings, he got so close that they kicked out their chairman of the board for absolutely not suggesting. They put in the SEC filing that there was no suggestion of any kind of observership post or observer position. Like, oh, okay, that's a very specific denial.
And they cut a seat off the board.
Yes, and they eliminated the seat that he would have been campaigning for when they took Susan.
Totally
Arnold.
Coincidental, Jonas. Had nothing to do with Nelson Peltz. Totally. I find it remarkable, and I'm so glad that the audience here has an IQ that is orders of magnitude better than the Access media, who have spent all day writing articles about how Nelson Peltz is attacking Disney again. And it's like, for Disney to be surprised by this, and for you morons out there in the media to call this an attack, you have to completely ignore that this is a company which has somehow managed, with tremendous levels of incompetence, the likes of which should be part of the Olympics the next go around, has managed to drop 60% of its entire corporate worth in 2 years. I mean, you have to have some chutzpah to pull that off. That is some serious strategery. And yet they've done it. And then they have the gall to come out and tell us, it's an attack. Someone wants us to make money. We couldn't see this coming. It's like, let's see, the guy who told you he would be watching you if you didn't do these things that you promised to do, and then you didn't do those things, now he's watching you. Oh my gosh. This is just... So thank you to the audience, the audience out there. It's nice to be with sane people after having to surf through all of that mental obliteration kind of content that I've been reading today.
I tell you, I really hope Nelson Peltz goes full throttle on this, because as a stockholder, I can't wait to get those proxy materials for the next stockholders meeting and see all the people who are running for a board seat, okay, and who the current board of directors recommends Joe Q stockholder. Vote for this one. No, we don't recommend you vote for this one. I can't wait for that package to come out.
Yeah. Jonas, you gonna call over there and see if Nelson Peltz wants to pet a hippo?
Absolutely.
Maybe he needs an extra shower. A third or a fourth shower a day over there at the C-suite.
It was fantastic looking at those filings and the things they were sending to stockholders saying, if you get anything from Trian Fund Management, throw it in the trash.
I remember that.
Feed it to the hippo.
I was like, oh, I'm going to read it all right.
Well, and it's like the criticism of Nelson Peltz is, what do you know about theme parks? More than the clowns on the board.
Yes.
None of them zero. No,
how much worse could you do?
Theme parks. You cannot do worse. You literally cannot do worse. But what I think is, what you got to watch out for is Miss Chang. Now, Miss Chang would work for Procter & Gamble. So Procter & Gamble knows all about Nelson Peltz because he came in there and made him profitable. So you better believe that she's looking at the other board members and she's like, screwed. Now that they see this coming down the pike.
I'll also point out, since the last time that Nelson Peltz started a proxy battle, they now have an interim CEO. So let's just, let's go back to that. And then they now have an interim CFO. And didn't somebody else just announce as well in the last few months? Do they have multiple high-level executive positions that are either
missing their chief diversity officer, which I'm sure is just tail spinning this company?
Latondra Newton. I forgot about her. It's amazing.
She's gone to Etsy, folks. She's gone to Etsy.
Continues to function without that essential guidance there.
You know what I think it is? I think that Nelson Peltz is reimagining tomorrow such that it is profitable, and they don't know what to do with that.
Make sure you're subscribed to Valiant Renegade and join us every Sunday at 6 p.m. Eastern for the live show.